Mariam El Bacha. Thank you for joining me here
Thank
at
you.
Cinepax 2019.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very welcome for our Women in Cinema series.
Yes.
So I have a few questions.
Oh my God.
I'll be gentle with you,
Thank
I
you,
promise.
please.
So your current role,
Yes.
you are CEO of Cinepax in
Yes.
Pakistan. So could you just tell us a little bit about what that involves?
Well, Cinepax is the largest cinema chain in Pakistan. We have 13 locations all across 9 screens in Pakistan, entire Pakistan, because from north to south, all the way up to near the Himalayas. It's being in a country that definitely needs a lot of development of cinema. So Pakistan has suffered for almost 10 years of complete ban of movie theaters and complete ban on entertainment. So coming out of that, it can only go upwards. You have to build new cinemas. You have to build teams and make the cinemas that we currently have. Not only update them because we have cinemas that are almost already 10 years old, so we have to go through the whole renovation process, but also update the team, develop the team to have that drive and motivation to develop their own locations and think them that as they are their own.
Yeah, of course. So prior to this role with Cinepax,
Yes.
can you tell us a bit about what you were doing and how, your background and how you got to this role with the company?
Technically speaking, cinema is my first job
You've always worked in
I
cinema?
ever applied.
Okay.
While I was studying in university, I worked with my family. We had our own business. We did very badly. We went bankrupt, like you do, as you do in Argentina. And that was, I think, a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to say, okay, now I have to go and look for something on my own.
Yeah.
I opened the newspaper. I look at the position of assistant manager for a cinema chain in Argentina called Village Cinemas. And I said, I think I can do this. I didn't know that it was a cinema. I applied for other positions. And the first one that called me was the cinema people. I had a fantastic interview with a lady that I didn't understand any English whatsoever. And she was asking me all these questions about, do you understand that you're going to be working weekends?
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what she said. So I said, yes, no problem.
Smile and nod.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah.
Do you understand that you're going to be working until 5 o'clock in the morning? Yes, no problem. So like that, I succeeded because, of course, I was a perfect ideal of a staff. So I started working as an assistant manager in the second cinema that Village Cinemas had, moving to different roles into a position in head office too. Working in Argentina for 5 years.
Yeah.
Got offered a promotion type of it's like a program exchange management program Village organized.
That's interesting.
And they asked me to select a place where Village at that time in the early 2000s. Village was all over the world and they were doing a big expansion, so they said, whatever, we have a cinema around the world, you can go and work.
Wow.
So I said, I want to go to England.
Okay, yeah.
They thought that I was going to go to Australia, and I said, no, I want to go to England. And
For the weather, definitely.
For the weather, yes, particularly the weather.
Yeah.
And they organized it very kindly and connected me with the people from Warner Brothers, Village Cinemas at that time, who later became View Cinema. So I worked 3 years in England with View as a manager in a cinema, and then I got offered to go to Australia, and I worked there I was in charge of all the gold class cinemas because with my accent in Australia they thought I was exotic, and I would bring some class to that. So
class to the gold class. Yeah.
Yes, so we developed crazy things, amazing menus. We have the whole training program for gold class. That was an amazing experience in itself. And then I said, okay, enough. 6 years abroad, enough. I go back to Argentina.
Yeah.
And at that time I worked for Hoyts, and we opened the first premium cinema, the first VIP cinemas in Argentina. Did the full training, did the full development of that, and then a year and a half later, my mentor, Kurt Reader, called me and said, Mariam, they're looking for someone like you in Vietnam. And I was like,
Wow.
are you crazy? What, are you supposed to be my friend? No.
Thanks for your
Why
help.
you send me to some place that they are at war? I said, shut up and send me your CV. I said, okay, boss, I'll send you my CV.
Yeah.
And I ended up in Vietnam and
Whereabouts?
in Ho Chi Minh.
Okay.
And it was the best experience of my life. It opened my career. I was in charge of a cinema chain called Megastar. We were the #1 cinema chain in Vietnam. We were doing first things for the very first time ever. Online booking, loyalty program, website. It was all a merchandising of products. We did a full range of crazy things. Today, the minimum order of Vietnam is 100,000 units for a cup of a movie cup. So it's all that has started through the work that we did, and that was a very exciting time.
Yeah.
And it opened my horizon to a continent of Asia that I didn't have.
Yeah. Beautiful. How long were you in Vietnam?
I was there for 4 years.
4 years.
That company got acquired by CGV, the Koreans, and I worked with them for 2 years more, and then I got offered another position in Malaysia with my older previous boss.
Okay.
And I took it. So we stayed there in Malaysia for 4 years also, working for a cinema chain, the third cinema chain in Malaysia, which is called MBO Cinemas. We had 27 locations, 200 screens, and that required a different setting because I was coming with my mindset of #1 cinema chain, and that was interesting because it requires you to be always being the first, being the best,
on the front foot.
And in Malaysia, I had to think about how I can differentiate myself from the #1 cinema chain, which is all about price, the #2 cinema chain, which is all about quality, and where we will sit strategically ourselves. So that allowed me to work a lot on doing things differently, like simple things like, for example, not charging for booking fees, to develop the booking capability, and making people book online in our platform, to totally transform the customer service of the company in terms of the work that we did with the team, and develop the team. With coaching sessions, with a little bit of therapy, with a little bit of with development, with training, and making them also be able to be more of entrepreneurial and go-getters, rather than waiting for things to happen. So that was. Aside from the transformation of the cinemas that we did and bringing to Malaysia a different take on making cinemas, on building cinemas, which I particularly enjoy very much. We also work a lot with the team, and that still till this day works.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you've done quite a lot then.
Yes.
You've been all around the world. That's amazing. What's your favourite thing in cinema? I know that's a big question, but if you had to pick one thing, it can be an area or just one thing that's a memory that sticks with you. What's your favourite thing in the industry?
Based on my career, my favorite it works, as a yin and yang. Based on my career, my favorite thing of working in cinemas is that I travel all around the world. Thanks to cinema, and I've been very honored to be part of an industry that provides entertainment and happiness to people. So that for me is my favorite. I think the negative side of things is that I travel all around the world and I spend a lot of time outside,
away from
my dear home Argentina and my dear family.
Yeah. Do you still go back and visit often?
Yes, because otherwise I get deported from my country. So no, I have to go back.
Get that in there.
Yes.
So what sort of challenges have you faced in the industry as a woman, do you think?
Well, now in Pakistan is fun.
Yes, let's talk about that.
I think the biggest challenge For example, I was talking to someone this before, and the biggest challenge in countries that are very structured or conservative, Vietnam was a conservative country, Malaysia still conservative, but has more take on women positions and allowing women to develop. And now Pakistan is that when people don't know who you are, and you're coming in and talking, for example, to landlords, big landlords, owners of developments in different regions, and you come on your own, and you come with someone of your team that reports to you, and is a man. They look at him. They would look at him they would ask questions to him directly, totally disregard me. So that I found always very funny. And I enjoyed being the one being able to move the head of the person to start talking to me.
How do you challenge it? How do you get around it?
Well, I think it works. It helps when you are, when you're professional about it. It helps where you become the person that knows about the subjects the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
knowledge.
So you get to people understand you and get to know you. I think that the biggest once we cross that barrier of getting to know each other, I think that actually makes people much more at ease and get to understand. Okay. She is the one that's going to have the answer. So
to respect you in that role. What do you think, in your opinion, is your biggest achievement ever in the industry in your career?
I think there's a few big. I think my biggest achievement is always being able to develop people. That's what I think I had been able to. I'm very proud about it. I'm also very strong about developing people. And seeing that, the work, for example, that we did in Malaysia, that I did in Malaysia with the team, seeing people, developing their own goals and being able to fulfill them, and seeing the transition from someone that was a bit lost. And then being able to achieve not only they achieve the KPIs that we're supposed to achieve because of from work, but also saying, okay, if your first personal goal during the start of the training program was to go back to university, they go back to university. If your first goal was saying buying a house, and they work all throughout the project of the training program that we did, all throughout the project, and then at the end of the project they are able to put in the first installment for the house. That's a big kick for me, because it says, okay, we are able to change people's life, and that is extremely satisfying. I had not only that, but also what cinemas can do in the community. I think that's also extremely moving, because you have all of a sudden cinemas become that center of entertainment, and you're part of the community, and how that change the lives of people that are coming to the cinema. Whenever you open a cinema where there was no cinema, or whenever you start, like in Pakistan, for example, now we're working a lot to make sure women come back to the cinema, because back in the day the cinemas were very old. Some of the old cinemas still have the original seat of 1965.
Wow.
So it's not a place where the toilets are original too. So it's not a place for any father in their sane mind, religious or non-religious, would like a woman their own daughters or their wife to go to. So it's totally understandable that people have been veered off going to the cinemas, and seeing families come back, and seeing families enjoying the cinema.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed cinemas when I was a 5-year-old, going with all my family to watch movies. That is also very, very moving.
Yeah.
And touching.
Do you find that when you achieve something as a woman, so something quite significant or something more commonplace,
yes.
do you find that it's difficult to obtain recognition for that? Or do you feel like, do you get recognition from the industry? Do you get recognition from your peers and your colleagues? Or do you think that as a woman it's harder to get that from people?
I have to say it's almost like a yes or no. I have situations where I have been fully recognized, and I have situations where I haven't been fully recognized. Yeah. It's like a yes and no situation.
So depending on the situation, maybe.
I don't. What I know about myself is that I am not that good at selling myself. So I know I have done something very good. I opened a cinema that I knew. When I opened a cinema in Malaysia, I knew that cinema, there was nothing like it in Malaysia.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult for me to say it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that's down to you as a person, or being? Do you think that's a female trait?
Yeah, maybe it's a female trait. Maybe it's myself.
A mixture,
don't know. Yeah. But it was very difficult for me to sell it.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes even was difficult when we were building the cinema. It was a very, it's quite a very nice location. When we were building the cinema, it was also very difficult for me to look. This is what because I build so many cinemas. I have already, I see people see a war zone type of location, and I see what it's going to be. You have it in your vision, right? Yeah. So here is the cinema, here is the concession, the box office, here is going to be the cafe, here is going to be the playground. Yeah. So I see it, but it's only fair people don't see it, and it took a little bit of time to see. We get it.
Yeah. Okay. So the cinema industry, talking about women in the industry.
Yes.
We've started to address the issue of gender imbalance, but what more do you think we can do? How do you think we approach it moving forward?
Well, I come from operations, cinema operations, right? So I'm not talking about high level positions. Mm-hmm. The career that I studied as an assistant manager. Right, and I have the full support of my family all throughout, to the point that my brothers, when I was promoted to become a cinema manager in a location that was in Argentina, is quite tough. Yeah. They gave me they had their car for like 5 years, and there was the first car they ever bought themselves, together with their own savings. Yeah. They gave it to me. Mariam, go on. Drive this car so you don't have problems to come back late or whatever. So I had my full family support.
That's okay.
Yes. God bless.
Mm-hmm.
That is very important for a woman, especially when you're working 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. The men that are working with you also need to understand that there will be some implications that you need help in some way. So if you don't have the flexibility of someone having a car, it will have to be then your father come picking you up. I'm talking just as a staff, right? And I'm giving you the example of right now, for example, Pakistan. Pakistan, even after you cannot give a job. There's a curfew for women to work after 11 o'clock at night. They cannot work, so you have to adapt your work, and you have to adapt your roster to have women during the day or up until 11 o'clock at night, and then you have the full crew of men to close the cinema. So that requires commitment. Commitment from the kids, from the girls that are working there and their own families, to understand that yes, there is a way, there is a career path, and also commitment from the boys.
To support
the boys club of the cinemas, cinema manager, assistant manager, supervisor, to allow women to enter. So so it's very important that you work with the teams. I had done meetings with the cinema teams for them to understand the importance of having a women in the team. It makes the cinemas a little bit cleaner. I had this conversation with the lady from Daddy Cinemas. She told me exactly the same. Whenever we have a cinema that is run by a woman, it's cleaner. Whenever we have a cinema
interesting,
it's untidy or disorganized. So it's interesting because so it's important to have that balance, because at the end of the day, that's how we live. We live interconnected, and it's important to have that balance. So I think it starts from, if you take it from the very lower range, lower positions of the cinemas, are key positions from sales positions and crew. Yeah. Then the beautiful thing about cinema is that allows you to grow. You can become. I started as an assistant manager, and today CEO of a company. If you can have that drive and you can have that growth, but you have to start somewhere. Yeah. And sometimes cinemas working weekends, 4 o'clock in the mornings. Hard work, being exposed to cinema in some Pakistan is a society that still cinema is viewed as not something that is well seen. It's still a little bit of controversy there. Mm-hmm. It's changing very quickly, but still some mentality, some minds are still very hard to change. Mm-hmm. So you have to make people understand. I use my example a lot in Pakistan to make sure people, look, I'm a woman, I'm running this company, and your daughter can do that too.
Exactly, having a role model. Yes. Yeah. How important do you think mentoring is, or
huge,
having role models?
Huge, because in all through, I have been extremely blessed and very lucky to have. I had a lot of male mentors in my career that didn't see that I was a woman, that saw, or maybe they saw that I was a gutsy woman, and they said, okay, let's let her do it, because she will do it. Let her do it. She wants to. She wants to do it. She wants to have an opportunity. Yeah. Let's help her out. And for that I'm extremely grateful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. So we have this growing focus on women in cinema, the gender imbalance. How do you think we need to do more in terms of diversity generally?
Yes.
And what can we do? How can we approach that one?
Yes. Yes. You have to. You still go to. We're coming to trade shows, and you still see over 50-year-old white men. And there's nothing wrong with them, and they're all cute and very nice people. But you need to open up. It was interesting to see in CinemaCon. There was an analysis made from a cinema chain that does a lot of I think Mayan cinemas. They do a lot of work for the Latin community. Mm-hmm. You have to be, sometimes it's important to address the audience. You have to understand who they are, what they want, and if you're set in your ways and you think that everything you have done is right and there's no need to change things, then you'll soon see that you're missing the business opportunity. Yeah,
there's no growth, and having all those different cultures and backgrounds and diversity really opens that up. Yes. Yeah, fantastic. So last question. Okay. If you had to give one piece of advice to any women out there, whatever age or background, what would you say to them to get into the cinema industry?
There's no industry like the cinema industry. Nothing more entertaining than the cinema industry. I have had many crises in my life. Say, okay, enough of cinema, and let's try and find something else. And I look and say, no, it's boring. Everything else is boring. Nothing more entertaining than the cinema industry. But you have to work hard. Mm-hmm. You have to learn how to work hard and endure. Yeah. You have to learn how to be very resilient. Yes, because it is a demanding job. It's not something that you in some cases, if you're in the operation side of things, it's also physical. So because you have to run around in the cinema all the time and be standing and be the entertainer, the showman, show the showmanship or the show womanship, to be a host.
The show must go on.
The show must, and because the show must go on, it doesn't allow you to. It doesn't allow you to flinch. So yes, that's, I think, is the most important part. To be strong.
Fantastic.
To endure.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me,
Mariam El
Bacha. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.